The Roman army was not just a fighting force, it was a ladder. 5,000 men marched beneath one eagle, but only a handful ever climbed high enough to command it. Every promotion brought better pay, better quarters, more authority over the men who had once stood beside you. It also brought something else nobody warns you about: more exposure to failure, more risk of catastrophic mistakes, and more lives depending on you when formations break and chaos floods in. At the bottom, you are invisible. No one knows your name. If you fall in battle, the line closes and the march continues. At the top, everyone knows your name. If you fail there, the entire legion crumbles with you, and Rome remembers. That is the trade the empire offered. Most men died somewhere near the bottom. A few climbed, but none of them climbed without paying. So what did that climb actually look like, step by step? Well, let me tell you. It begins in the mud. You start as one of many. A legionary is the backbone of Rome's military machine. Roughly 4,800 heavy infantry form a legion, divided into cohorts and centuries, each man equipped the same: helmet, shield, gladius, javelins, armor, and nearly 60 pounds of gear strapped across his body. The day begins before sunrise. Marching is constant. 20 miles is normal. At the end of it, you do not rest. You build. Every evening, the legion constructs a fortified camp. They dig ditches, raise ramparts, and plant sharpened stakes. Archaeology confirms these marching camps were laid out with mathematical precision. Even after exhausting days, training never stops. You drill with wooden swords heavier than real ones. You practice throwing pila until your shoulder burns. You learn to hold formation even when instinct tells you to run. Pay is steady, but deductions are frequent. Food, equipment, even replacement boots come out of your wages. Service lasts 25 years. You are disciplined through fear, hardened through repetition, and utterly replaceable. But if you survive long enough and prove capable beyond simple endurance, skill eventually becomes visible to the right eyes. And sometimes, just sometimes, that visibility creates an opening upward. There is a quiet way upward. An immunis is still officially a legionary, but he no longer digs ditches unless absolutely necessary. He has proven useful beyond the shield wall. Perhaps he is a medic, a blacksmith, an engineer, a surveyor. Rome's legions moved with doctors, carpenters, architects, and artillery builders. The army runs on logistics more than glory. Engineers design siege ramps and construct bridges across rivers in days. Medics stitch wounds using tools recovered from excavation sites across Europe. Surveyors lay out camps so precisely that modern archaeologists can still trace their geometry. You're still a soldier first. You still fight when ordered, and you still risk death in battle. But your daily work shifts from endless manual labor to maintaining specialized equipment, recording supply inventories, and repairing critical tools the Legion depends on. The pay improves slightly over base legionary wages. Your body lasts longer without constant ditch digging destroying your back, but you hold no authority over other men. Authority, real command over the lives of others, is where actual power begins. To reach that, you must lead men, not tools. Leadership begins from the rear. The optio stands directly behind the centurion in battle formation. His job is simple and brutal: ensure no one breaks rank. If the front line falters, he sees it first. If someone tries to flee, he stops it. He is second in command of a century, roughly 80 men. Promotion comes through competence and loyalty. The centurion chooses you. That matters more than paperwork. You manage guard rotations, enforce discipline, oversee training. You memorize the watchword each night. You ensure the century is ready before inspection. The vine staff of the centurion may strike from the front, but your presence at the back keeps the line solid. In battle, you are positioned precisely where fear hits fastest, where men think about running. Your pay doubles that of a common legionary, but this rank carries crushing pressure. Every mistake by your 80 men reflects directly on your judgment. Every failure of discipline permanently stains your reputation. Still, you are close now to the rank that truly defined Rome's military dominance. Close to the position that built the empire's legendary reputation on battlefields across 3 continents. Because now you carry something heavier than armor. The signifer holds the standard of the century, a pole decorated with discs, symbols, and the emblem that binds 80 men into one unit. In battle, the standard is direction. Soldiers orient themselves by it. If it falls, confusion spreads instantly. The position is both symbolic and practical. The signifer also acts as banker for the century. He manages pay records, savings deposits, and burial funds. Tablets recovered from Roman forts show meticulous financial documentation. You wear an animal skin draped over your helmet, wolf or bear most commonly, making you visibly distinct and impossible to miss, which makes you the primary target enemy forces aim for. Opposing commanders know capturing a century's standard devastates morale far beyond the tactical loss. Roman military history records entire units suffering permanent disgrace for losing their standards in battle, their shame recorded for generations. Your pay increases significantly beyond an optio's wages. Your risk of violent death increases proportionally, but standards represent only a fraction of true command authority. Real power belongs to the man who controls 80 lives directly and leads them into death. This is where Rome's military power becomes intensely personal. A centurion commands a century of approximately 80 soldiers, never the 100 the name suggests, because organization evolved while terminology remained frozen. Despite numerical inaccuracy, the title stuck across centuries of Roman military history. Centurions are not aristocrats. They rise through discipline, courage, and endurance. Many have served over 15 years before earning the transverse crest on their helmet, worn sideways to stand out in battle. They lead from the front. Historical accounts describe centurions as first over fortress walls during assaults and last to retreat when battles turned desperate. They carry a vine staff called a vitis as their symbol of authority and use it frequently and viciously to enforce discipline. Roman writers noted that soldiers feared disappointing a respected centurion more than facing enemy weapons. Pay explodes dramatically, 15 times that of a common legionary according to pay records. You decide punishments ranging from beatings to execution. You make tactical adjustments when battle plans collapse into chaos. You maintain rigid order in camp, where 5,000 men could descend into mob violence without structure. And you channel controlled aggression in combat, where hesitation means death. The legion's battlefield effectiveness depends less on distant generals issuing orders and far more on the competence of its centurions, making split-second decisions when everything goes wrong. The authority of one man stands above every centurion in the legion. 1 year in that position could transform your entire life forever. The Primus Pilus is the highest-ranking centurion in the legion. He commands the first century of the first cohort, the elite corps of roughly 800 of the legion's best soldiers, but his influence extends beyond his unit. He sits in councils with tribunes and the legate. His advice shapes strategy, and he speaks for the centurions beneath him. This rank is usually held for 1 year. It is both reward and test. The pay is enormous compared to a common soldier. More importantly, it grants entry into the equestrian class after retirement, social elevation few common men ever achieve. Archaeological inscriptions show former Primus Pilus later serving as high-ranking administrators across the empire. You've survived decades of warfare. You've buried countless friends and enemies. You've endured campaigns in hostile lands. from freezing Germanic forests to scorching North African deserts. Now you stand at the absolute top of the professional soldier's ladder, as high as common birth allows. But Rome's hierarchy doesn't end with men who earned their position through blood. Above you stand men, born into authority they never had to fight for. The senior tribune is not a career soldier. He is often young, mid-20s, from senatorial families. The broad purple stripe on his tunic marks aristocratic status. He serves as second in command of the legion, beneath the legate. His authority is legal, not earned through years in formation. He oversees administration, logistics, and occasionally commands detachments. He learns how a legion functions before pursuing higher political office. Veteran centurions possess more battlefield experience. The Primus Pilus likely understands war better, but Rome is built on rank as much as merit. The tribune's day involves reviewing written reports, inspecting units for regulation compliance, and attending strategic discussions where his opinion carries weight his experience does not justify. His decisions affect thousands of lives, yet he has never personally marched 20 consecutive miles carrying 60 pounds for years on end. Some transcend their privilege and earn genuine respect. Others lean heavily on the experienced veterans beneath them and survive through delegation. And above, even the tribune, stands the man whose name Rome remembers when the legion wins, and blames when it loses. The Legatus Legionis commands the entire legion. Appointed by the emperor, usually of senatorial rank, he oversees roughly 5,000 soldiers, auxiliary units, engineers, cavalry attachments, and vast logistical networks. He determines strategy. He negotiates with governors. He decides when to advance and when to hold. Unlike centurions, he does not carry the vine staff. His authority comes from imperial backing. Campaign success can lead to governorships or political advancement in Rome. Failure can end a career permanently. He studies maps by lamplight. He reviews intelligence reports. He signs orders that move thousands across provinces. Archaeological evidence from frontier forts reveals extensive written correspondence between legates and Rome, showing constant administrative burden far beyond battlefield heroics. He rarely fights personally. His battlefield is vastly larger. And here is the final truth about climbing this high. At the bottom, you fear death from an enemy blade. At the top, you fear something worse, consequences that echo through history. Political rivals wait for failure. Imperial scrutiny never rests. Strategic miscalculation can cost thousands of lives. 5,000 men march because your signature commanded it. If they fall, history carves your name beside theirs in stone and memory. In the end, Rome's army wasn't just organized through arbitrary ranks. It was deliberately engineered, like their aqueducts and roads. Each rank upward brought more authority and less anonymity, more material comfort, and exponentially greater risk of catastrophic failure. From the mud-soaked legionary whose name no one recorded to the imperial legate whose decisions shaped provinces, every step upward demanded something different. First endurance, then skill, then discipline, then influence, and finally political acumen. Power in Rome was never given freely. It was earned across decades, tested in moments when thousands watched, and remembered long after armor rusted into fragments archaeologists later unearth. If you enjoy exploring how ancient systems really functioned beneath their marble facades, subscribe, because there's far more buried in history than battlefield myths and empire propaganda. Because the higher you climb in any hierarchy, ancient or modern, one truth remains constant across millennia. The view improves with each step. The fall gets longer.